Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes has joined a number of lawsuits challenging the Trump administration's actions, ranging from changes to election procedures to cuts in funding to federal libraries and museums, along with the administration's cuts in grants from the National Institutes of Health. And that was just past week. Joining us now is Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes. Thanks for making some time for us.
You bet. It's been a busy week.
I was just going to be. Are you? First question's got to be: are you ready to file yet another suit against the Trump administration?
Well, I think I would ask the question this way. Is Donald Trump going to continue to engage in unconstitutional and illegal behavior? And is he going to continue to violate our Constitution? And if he does, then the Democratic attorneys general from across this country, 23 of us, will continue to file lawsuits. And so that's what we did last week. As you said, I think we had 3 last week alone. And there will probably be more.
I'm trying to keep score here. 10 so far?
11.
11.
Close.
I'm close. Okay.
Yeah.
Along the way, you had a quote. I think Wall Street Journal, I'm not sure. I believe strongly that we are in the midst of a coup, and I don't use that term lightly. Explain, please.
I believe that, and because we are dealing with a president and an unelected billionaire, and Elon Musk, who have repeatedly violated federal court orders already. So, for instance, the Democratic AGs have had to go back in when we won a temporary restraining order against the president and get a motion to compel to make them abide by that federal court order. And I don't know what else to call it, Ted, when a president violates a federal court order. So, that's why I think that.
I've heard those of his supporters, though, say he is challenging those court orders.
No, the way you challenge a court order is you appeal a court order. That is our constitutional system of government. You don't challenge it by ignoring it. Can you imagine if a Democratic president had done, half of the things that this president has done? So no, that's not how you challenge it. You win in the courts.
We just heard from Senate Majority Leader Thune basically saying that Americans voted for Trump. They knew what they were getting, and they're getting it now. Arizonans voted for Trump as well, knew what they are getting. Did they? Do you think they knew they were getting this?
No, I don't think Arizonans. I really believed that we would end up with a president who would engage in this level of unconstitutionality, this level of cruelty. You just started by talking about the federal firings. The AG's case is still in place. Our temporary restraining order is still in place, and we have, and those fired employees, 25,000 of them, just because they were on probationary status, are now being rehired by the administration because the court told the administration they had to. So no, I don't think so. And I think you saw that with the protests this weekend, that thousands and thousands of Arizonans came out and said, hands off my Constitution, hands off my democracy, hands off the separation of powers, all over the state.
But what do you say to those that agree with the Senate Majority Leader that you need to give the president time? I've heard this from a number of Republicans who basically say this is panicking, this is short-term thinking, the president is seeing the long-term view.
You can't give any president time to violate the Constitution. You can't give any president the opportunity to violate the rule of law. And that's our job. My job as an attorney general is to uphold the rule of law and to protect Arizonans. And Arizonans are being harmed massively by many of these actions being taken by the Trump administration.
Let's talk about the suit against the NIH grants and libraries and museums. These were 2 different suits in 2 different cases. How did this work, by the way?
So on the libraries and museums, that was one lawsuit.
And the NIH was another one.
And the NIH was a separate one, correct. And then we had one also against HHS.
Yes. Let's talk about the funding of federal library and museum agencies. Why was it necessary for Arizona to join this suit?
So this is a devastating action by the Trump administration, and also illegal and unconstitutional. So they basically demolished 6 small agencies, and one of those agencies Libraries is responsible for supporting public libraries all across America, but including in Arizona. So almost all of our public libraries, Ted, receive federal funding, and the programs that they deliver to Arizonans include literacy programs for our children, Braille services for the blind, and the list goes on and on. Libraries, especially in rural Arizona, if that action stands, will close, flat out close.
Okay, so you're talking rural libraries, you're talking small town libraries. They are that much dependent.
Yeah. I mean, they receive a lot of their funding from the federal government, and we are going to see massive closures of public libraries across rural Arizona. Ted, I grew up in Prescott. I learned to read in the public library in Prescott, Arizona. I don't think it's fair to the kids who live in rural Arizona to have to see that money dry up because we have an unconstitutional president.
Maybe not fair, but again, the lawsuit, I know some of the other lawsuits talked about overreaching of presidential authority. Was this a case of that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a separation of powers issue. Almost all of these cases that we're talking about, Ted, really implicate the separation of powers. Only Congress has the authority to get rid of an entire federal agency.
Let's talk about the NIH grants as well, because I think that's, as well, you're saying overreaching, overstepping. But again, why is this important to Arizona?
Well, so Arizona universities receive, I think it's about $239 million in NIH grant funding. That's not even to speak of, so I have actually two lawsuits on NIH. The first one was early on, and that was when the Trump administration tried to slash the indirect rate for our universities and for entities like Banner Health, which was doing Alzheimer's research, would have been devastating from that standpoint. But this is the grants portion of NIH. And so that's $239 million in research funding for science and for health.
And these grants are being delayed, slow walked? What's going on here?
Both slow walked and completely eliminated.
Because?
And again, who knows? I mean, because the administration decided they wanted to obliterate these agencies. I mean, I don't know, but again, it's a separation of powers issue. Congress already appropriated that money to NIH, to HHS, to the libraries programs. No president of whatever political party has the right to override the Constitution.
And again, when it comes to research, this impacts Arizona, A, and B, it impacts Arizona's research universities in a big way.
Yeah, in a big way. Both the HHS funding, but especially that NIH funding as well.
Let's talk about the election order. We had Secretary of State Fontes on about this, but I want to hear from you as well. What is it about that particular, besides the overreaching of authority, because I get that as well.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a common theme,
yeah,
a reoccurring motif here. But what is it about this order that you think is wrong for Arizona?
So a couple of really bad things about this elections order. Number one, we're worried about it potentially impacting our ability to cure ballots after Election Day. We do that, and Arizonans like the ability to cure their ballots. And so we think the executive order could impact that. And then, you've got the general issue of the fact that we want to maintain control over our elections system. And, there's some other ways that it impacts us.
The idea, though, of basically requiring, I should say, proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. I know a lot of people listening right now would say, what's wrong with that? For
sure. And we already do that. So that is one difference between Arizona and some other states that don't do what we do, which is require documentary proof of citizenship. But here's what Trump's executive order does that's really bad for us and that is different from what we do. They wouldn't allow you under his executive order, they wouldn't allow us to use our birth certificates to prove citizenship. They wouldn't allow for the use of tribal identification cards. Talk about impacting our 22 tribes in this state. They wouldn't allow for naturalization documents to be used. I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to prove your citizenship if you're not allowed to use those three things.
You referred earlier about the 7 p.m. deadline, I believe, as far as getting ballots in. 7 p.m. on election night, can't count mail-in ballots received after Election Day. Again, there are a lot of folks who think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and we already require that those ballots be in. So that's a little bit of a difference between Arizona and other states. But we do think there's these critical things. And then the other thing that Secretary Fontes has brought up is in this executive order, they want county recorders and elections officials to send our data to DOJ. I don't think Arizonans want our election data and personal data sent to DOJ.
I think that's the one that probably raised the most eyebrows as far as this is concerned. Secretary of State also said that he believes that the president is laying the groundwork for some kind of cancellation of next year's vote. And he's serious about this. You serious about that?
I can see why he is serious about that. And here's why. I mean, this is a president that tried to basically cancel the 2020 election by engaging in an effort on January 6th to overturn the counting of our electoral votes. So, you know, I don't think it takes a stretch of imagination to wonder whether this is setting the stage for something bad.
And again, you were talking about out of control executive branch. I believe you said hell-bent on destroying 250 years of precedent. How far does this go, especially when you've got a president who basically, by way of the Supreme Court decision, believes that if he makes a decision, if he says no to a lower court's yes, he can do that because it's in the best interest, as he sees it, for the country.
Yeah, I mean, the immunity decision will go down in history as one of the worst decisions ever made by the United States Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, the truth is the United States Supreme Court is going to have to decide in all these cases that I am filing and other AGs are filing, whether it still believes in the Constitution, whether it still believes in the separation of powers, and frankly, whether it still believes in America. And we're going to find out pretty soon.
Before you go, you've got a website regarding Secretary of State, Social Security, a lot of S's in there, Social Security issues, and the response has been interesting.
It's been interesting. I haven't talked about this yet, but I'll tell you about it. We put out a website. We're very worried about the disruptions that could be caused by the changes that are happening inside the Social Security Administration. And so we put out a website that said, hey, if you're seeing a disruption in your check, your Social Security check, or anything, give us a call. Let us know what's going on. And we've already got more than 36 people write into us with some kind of disruption that they're seeing, whether it's a delay in their Social Security check, which can be catastrophic for so many Arizonans who live on Social Security, or they're having trouble getting somebody on the phone at Social Security, or they're having a hard time going into the office and they're being hung up on. This is scary stuff, and we're just now getting to the bottom of it and trying to sort of drill down on that data.
Is this the kind of thing that were these people experiencing this stuff before the Trump administration?
It certainly does not seem like it. So we'll find out. Again, we're going to drill down on the data. But that seems like a lot of people to be experiencing a disruption to Social Security of some kind. And it, you know, we know that that Elon Musk has called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. We know DOJ is inside of Social Security doing God knows what, and we're worried about it.
Once the drilling is done, will that be number 12?
It certainly could be, but it could be some other number. I don't know yet, but I know there are other AGs very worried about it.
All right. Attorney General Kris Mayes, always a pleasure. Good to have you here. Good discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.